The training facility stretched across 3 continents on the planet Kepler 442b, its massive dome structures housing the most elite military academy in the known galaxy. Representatives from 47 different species came here to prove their worth, to earn the right to serve in the Galactic Defense Force. The Academy's reputation was built on one simple principle: only the strongest, smartest, and most adaptable would graduate. Commander Zethkar, a towering reptilian with scales that shimmered like polished obsidian, stood before the newest batch of recruits. His yellow eyes swept across the assembly hall, taking in the diverse crowd. There were the proud Altarians with their crystalline skin that refracted light in rainbow patterns. The hulking Gorvani, whose thick hides could deflect most small arms' fire. The graceful Selenites, whose elongated limbs moved with fluid precision. The tech-savvy Nexari, their multiple arms constantly adjusting various devices attached to their bodies. And, then, there was the human. Marcus Chen stood among the other recruits, unremarkable in almost every way. At average height and build, he seemed almost fragile compared to his alien counterparts. His brown hair was neatly trimmed, his dark eyes alert but showing no particular intensity that marked the other species. While the Altarians practically glowed with inner energy and the Gorvani radiated raw physical power, the humans simply stood quietly, observing. "Welcome to the Kepler Military Academy," Zethkar's voice boomed across the hall, his translator device converting his native tongue into the universal language understood by all present. "You have been selected from billions of candidates across your respective worlds. You think this makes you special. You think this guarantees your success. You are wrong." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Several Altarian recruits exchanged confident glances, their crystalline features catching the overhead lights. The Gorvani merely grunted, their massive arms crossed over barrel chests. The human continued to listen silently. "Over the next 6 months, you will be tested beyond anything you have experienced. Physical trials, mental challenges, tactical simulations, and survival scenarios that have broken the spirits of warriors from across the galaxy. Many of you will not survive. Many more will quit when faced with true adversity. But, for those few who endure, who adapt, who overcome, you will earn the right to defend our galaxy against threats that would terrify entire star systems." The commander's gaze lingered on Marcus for a moment longer than the others, and something that might have been curiosity flickered in those reptilian eyes. Humans were relatively new to the galactic community. Their planet had only established contact 30 years ago, and, while their technology was advancing rapidly, they were still considered one of the weaker species in terms of raw physical capabilities. "Your first major test begins tomorrow. You will face the battled beast of Kithara Prime. This creature has been the final trial for our elite warriors for over 2 centuries. It has tested more than 10,000 candidates. Only 400 have ever survived the encounter. Even fewer have impressed the beast enough to earn its respect." The explanation continued as holographic displays materialized above the assembly, showing images of a creature that defied easy description. The battle beast appeared to be a fusion of predatory evolution from multiple worlds. It stood 12 feet tall on powerful hind legs, its body covered in overlapping plates of natural armor that had turned aside energy weapons and explosive rounds. Its 6 arms ended in claws capable of rending through reinforced steel, while its elongated skull housed a brain that had proven capable of tactical thinking that rivaled the galaxy's best military minds. "The beast does not kill for sport," Zethkar explained. "It tests. It evaluates. It measures your courage, your intelligence, your will to survive, and your capacity to think beyond conventional limitations. Some candidates freeze in terror and are eliminated immediately. Others attack recklessly and are taught humility. A rare few find ways to engage with the beast that demonstrate true warrior potential." An Altarian recruit raised one of her 4 arms. "Commander, what constitutes success in this trial? Are we expected to defeat the creature?" A sound that might have been laughter rumbled from Zethkar's throat. "Defeat? Young Crystal Skin, in 200 years, only one being has ever truly defeated the battle beast in single combat. That was Warlord Thane of the Void Hunters, and he possessed strength that could crack moon surfaces with his bare hands. No, you are not expected to defeat the beast. You are expected to survive its evaluation while demonstrating qualities worthy of a galactic defender. The recruits were dismissed to their quarters, a mixture of excitement and nervousness filling the air as different species clustered together, discussing strategies and sharing knowledge of their respective combat traditions. The Gorvani spoke of ancient wrestling techniques passed down through generations. The Eltarians debated the optimal frequency patterns for their energy-based abilities. The Nexari compared technological solutions and equipment modifications. Marcus walked alone to his assigned quarters, a simple but functional room containing basic necessities. As the door sealed behind him, he sat on the edge of his bed and pulled out a small, worn notebook, its pages filled with handwritten observations and sketches. This habit of detailed note-taking had been with him since childhood, a trait that his instructors back on Earth had said showed promise for intelligence work. He began writing, documenting everything he had observed about his fellow recruits, the facility, and, most importantly, the battle beast. The creature's anatomy suggested adaptation for multiple environments and combat scenarios. The mention of its intelligence indicated that brute force approaches would likely fail. The fact that so few had earned its respect suggested that it was evaluating for something specific, something beyond mere survival instinct or combat prowess. As he wrote, Marcus recalled stories from human history. Tales of warriors and survivors who had triumphed not through superior strength or technology, but through adaptability, creativity, and an almost stubborn refusal to accept defeat. Humans had always been a species that thrived on problem-solving, on finding unconventional solutions to impossible challenges. The next morning arrived with the artificial dawn cycle that regulated life within the academy. Recruits gathered in the preparation chambers, donning standardized combat gear that was designed to provide basic protection without giving any species an unfair advantage. No weapons were permitted beyond what nature had provided each being. Marcus checked his gear methodically, ensuring every strap and seal was properly secured. Around him, other recruits engaged in various pre-combat rituals. The Selenites performed flowing movements that were part meditation, part stretching routine. The Gorvani engaged in contests of strength, their heavy breathing creating clouds of steam in the cooler preparation chamber. The Eltarians stood in perfect stillness, their bodies gathering and focusing energy. The transport to the beast's domain was a short flight across the planet's surface to a massive natural arena carved from ancient volcanic rock. The space was enormous, easily large enough to accommodate creatures much larger than the battle beast, with walls that rose hundreds of feet into the artificial sky created by the Academy's atmospheric processors. As the recruits filed into the arena, Marcus noted the careful design of the space. There were multiple levels, hiding spots, elevated platforms, and what appeared to be various environmental controls. This was not simply a flat fighting ring, but a complex three-dimensional environment that would test spatial awareness and tactical thinking as much as physical capabilities. Commander Zefkar's voice echoed through the arena's communication system. The trial will proceed in order of species, beginning with those who requested to go first and continuing until all have been evaluated. Each candidate will have 10 minutes alone with the beast. Observers will watch from the protected viewing areas, as this experience often proves as educational as the trial itself. The first candidate was a Gorvani warrior named Thurek, whose massive frame and scarred hide spoke of countless battles on his homeworld. He entered the arena with the confident swagger of a being who had never met a physical challenge he couldn't overcome through sheer force. The battle beast emerged from a concealed entrance, and, even through the protective barriers, Marcus could feel the presence of the creature. It moved with a fluid grace that seemed impossible for something so large, its 6 arms positioning themselves with tactical precision as it evaluated the newcomer. Thurek charged immediately, using his species-preferred tactic of overwhelming offense. His massive fists, capable of denting starship hulls, swung toward the beast with devastating force. But the creature flowed around the attacks like water, using its multiple limbs to redirect the Gorvani's momentum while applying precise pressure points that sent the warrior stumbling. The engagement continued for several minutes, with Thurek attempting various approaches while the beast seemed to be conducting a methodical evaluation. Finally, the creature placed one claw gently against the warrior's chest and applied just enough pressure to make its point clear. Thurek, recognizing the gesture, stepped back and bowed his head in acknowledgement. Acceptable, came the evaluation through the arena's speakers. The Gorvani shows courage and determination, but lacks adaptability when initial strategies fail. Cleared for basic warrior training with remedial tactical instruction. Similar scenes played out as candidate after candidate faced the beast. Some, like the Altarians, attempted to use their energy manipulation abilities only to find that the beast's natural armor seemed designed to dissipate such attacks. Others tried stealth approaches that the creature's enhanced senses easily detected. A few attempted to engage the beast intellectually, but found that while it appreciated the effort, mere conversation was not what it sought. By the afternoon, nearly 30 candidates had been evaluated. Most received ratings of acceptable or needs improvement, with a handful earning commendable for particularly creative or brave approaches. But none had achieved the highest rating, whatever that might be. As Marcus's name was called, he felt the weight of observation from both his fellow recruits and the academy instructors. The human species was largely unknown in terms of military potential, and many were curious to see how Earth's representative would perform. Walking into the arena, Marcus felt the artificial gravity shift slightly as environmental systems adjusted to his presence. The battle beast was waiting in the center of the space, and, up close, it was even more imposing than the holograms had suggested. Its dark eyes, intelligent and ancient, fixed on him with what seemed like genuine curiosity. Marcus did not charge, did not immediately assume a combat stance, did not attempt to circle for advantage. Instead, he stood still and simply observed, his notebook forgotten in his quarters but his mind automatically cataloging details. The beast's breathing pattern. The way its weight distributed across its powerful legs. The positioning of its multiple arms. The angle of its head as it studied him in return. For nearly a full minute, human and beast simply regarded each other in silence. Then, Marcus did something that none of the other candidates had attempted. He sat down cross-legged on the arena floor, maintaining eye contact with the creature, and waited. The beast's head tilted slightly, and Marcus could swear he detected what might have been amusement in those ancient eyes. Slowly, carefully, the creature approached until it loomed directly over the seated human. Its massive claws extended, capable of ending the trial instantly, and came to rest just inches from Marcus's head. Still, the human did not move, did not flinch, did not break eye contact. He simply sat in perfect stillness, communicating something without words. Not submission, not defiance, but a kind of patient confidence that suggested he understood something that the others had missed. The beast studied him for what felt like an eternity but was probably only seconds. Then, to the amazement of everyone watching, the creature slowly lowered itself until it was sitting as well, bringing its massive head down to nearly the same level as the humans. What happened next would be debated and analyzed for years to come in military academies across the galaxy. The silence in the arena was complete except for the subtle hum of atmospheric processors and the measured breathing of two beings locked in an unprecedented moment of mutual assessment. Marcus maintained his seated position, his dark eyes never wavering from the beast's ancient gaze, while the massive creature had lowered itself to a similar sitting position, its 6 arms arranged in what almost appeared to be a relaxed posture. Commander Zethkar leaned forward in the observation deck, his scaled features showing confusion and fascination in equal measure. In all his years overseeing these trials, he had never witnessed anything like this. The beast's behavior was completely outside established patterns. Dr. Elon Morse, the Academy's chief behavioral analyst, whispered urgent notes into a recording device. Subject appears to be engaging in interspecies communication protocol. Beast's body language suggests assessment mode has shifted to something unprecedented. Recommend extended observation period. In the arena, Marcus was conducting his own analysis. The battle beast's reputation was built on its ability to evaluate warrior potential, but its methods suggested something more sophisticated than simple combat assessment. The creature's reactions to previous candidates had shown pattern recognition, tactical evaluation, and what could only be described as psychological profiling. This was not just a predator testing prey, but an intelligent being conducting interviews in its own unique way. The human slowly raised one hand, palm open, fingers spread in what most species recognized as a gesture of peaceful intent. The beast's head tilted slightly, and one of its smaller secondary arms mirrored the motion with surprising delicacy. The massive claws, capable of rending starship hull plating, extended in a careful approximation of Marcus's gesture. Fascinating, Marcus whispered, his voice barely audible but somehow carrying clearly in the arena's acoustics. You're not testing for strength or speed, are you? You're looking for something else entirely. The beast's eyes seemed to brighten, and it made a sound that was part rumble, part harmonic vibration. The arena's translation system struggled to process the vocalization, finally, producing a rough approximation, understanding. Marcus nodded slowly, pieces of the puzzle clicking into place in his mind. The others came here expecting a fight, a test of their abilities against yours. But that's not what you want, is it? You want to see who can recognize that this isn't about combat at all. Standing slowly, Marcus began to move around the arena, not in a tactical pattern or combat formation, but in a casual walk that took him past various environmental features. The beast watched with intense interest as the human examined what appeared to be a simple rock formation, knelt to inspect markings on the arena floor that others had dismissed as decorative, and paused at what looked like a random collection of metal debris. "These aren't obstacles or weapons," Marcus said, his voice growing more confident as understanding dawned. "They're tools. Or maybe puzzles. You've been watching candidates to see who would notice that this arena contains elements for problem solving, not just fighting." The beast rose to its feet with fluid grace and approached one of the metal assemblages that Marcus had been examining. Using two of its smaller arms with surprising precision, it manipulated what appeared to be a complex mechanical puzzle, causing a section of the arena floor to shift and reveal a hidden chamber below. Marcus laughed, the sound echoing strangely in the vast space. "You beautiful, clever creature. You've been selecting for intelligence and adaptability all along. The physical trials, the combat scenarios, they're all secondary to the real test. Can we think beyond our preconceptions and recognize solutions that don't involve violence?" The beast gestured toward the newly revealed chamber with one massive arm, and Marcus understood the invitation. Together, human and creature descended into what proved to be an elaborate underground complex filled with what could only be described as three-dimensional puzzles, environmental challenges, and problems that required cooperation between beings of vastly different physical capabilities. In the observation deck, various Academy officials were having heated discussions about whether to intervene. The trial had already run far longer than the standard 10 minutes, and the human's behavior was completely outside established protocols. "Sir," Commander Zethkar's aide approached nervously, "should we terminate the trial?" The human appears to have engaged the beast in some form of collaborative activity. Zethkar raised one scaled hand for silence, his attention completely focused on the displays showing the arena's hidden chambers. "No interference. We are witnessing something unprecedented. The beast has never revealed these chambers to any previous candidate. Continue recording everything." Below, Marcus and the beast were working together on what appeared to be a complex engineering problem. The chamber contained what looked like components for some kind of environmental control system, but critical elements were missing or incorrectly positioned. Marcus's human ingenuity for tool use and problem-solving combined with the beast's superior strength and multiple manipulators was proving remarkably effective. "Your species has been testing candidates for 2 centuries, Marcus said as he adjusted a delicate calibration device while the beast held a massive support beam in perfect position. "But you haven't just been evaluating for the Academy, have you? You've been looking for something specific. Someone who could see past the obvious and recognize a different kind of partnership." The beast's response was complex, a series of harmonic vocalizations that the translation system struggled with before producing, seeking understanding, bridge between, long time, many tests, few see true purpose. As they completed the engineering puzzle, the chamber around them transformed. Hidden panels slid back to reveal windows looking out onto a view that definitely wasn't the training planet's surface. Instead, they showed what appeared to be a star field containing structures that seemed to be part artificial and part organic, massive constructs that dwarfed even the largest known space stations. Marcus stared in amazement. "This isn't just an arena, is it? This is some kind of command center. And you're not just a test proctor. You're a guardian. A sentinel watching over something that requires the right kind of mind to even perceive properly." The beast moved to what was clearly a control interface designed for its unique physiology, its multiple arms dancing across controls with practiced ease. The view outside shifted, showing different angles of the mysterious structures, and Marcus began to understand the scale of what he was seeing. These weren't just buildings or ships, they were something that existed partially outside normal spacetime, requiring a specific type of consciousness to interact with safely. The Academy, Marcus said, his voice filled with wonder, it's not just training soldiers. It's screening for minds that can handle contact with something beyond normal galactic civilization. Something that requires cooperation rather than conquest, understanding rather than domination. The beast's response was warm, almost proud, yes. Human sees. Human understands. Rare gift among star-traveling species. Most seek to conquer, to control, to impose order through force. Few recognize that greatest challenges require different approach. In the observation deck, Dr. Morse was practically vibrating with excitement as she recorded her observations. The implications of this interaction are staggering. If the beast has been maintaining contact with some form of advanced civilization or construct, and it's been using these trials to identify suitable candidates for some kind of first contact protocol. Commander Zethkar nodded grimly. It would explain many things. The beast's intelligence, its testing methods, its apparent immortality. We may have been inadvertently participating in a recruitment program for something far beyond our current understanding. Back in the command chamber, Marcus was learning to interface with systems that seemed to respond as much to intent and understanding as to physical manipulation. The beast was a patient teacher, guiding him through procedures that seemed to involve establishing communication links with the mysterious structures visible through the chamber's windows. How long have you been doing this? Marcus asked. How many species had you tested before finding ones capable of this kind of interaction? The beast's response carried undertones of immense age and patience, many cycles of star birth and death. Many species rise and fall. Few develop wisdom alongside power. Humans show promise. Show ability to adapt, to cooperate, to see beyond immediate needs. This is why human was chosen for testing. Marcus paused in his examination of the alien controls. Chosen? You mean my presence here wasn't random? The Academy selection process, my application being accepted despite humanity being so new to galactic society. Correct. Human species observed for 30 of your years since first contact. Pattern analysis indicates potential for required mindset. You, Marcus Chen, selected specifically for this evaluation based on psychological profile and demonstrated problem-solving approaches that suggest compatibility. The revelation was staggering. Marcus's entire journey to the Academy, everything he had believed about random selection and proving human worth in galactic society, had actually been part of an elaborate recruitment process conducted by an intelligence far beyond what anyone had suspected. What happens now? He asked. If I'm suitable for whatever this is, what does that mean for humanity, for the Academy, for galactic civilization? The beast moved to another control panel, and the view outside shifted again, showing what appeared to be a gathering of beings from dozens of species that Marcus didn't recognize, all working together on projects that seemed to involve reshaping reality at a fundamental level. Next phase begins. Human returns to Academy, completes training, but with additional education in preparation for true purpose. Other selected candidates from various species eventually join. Together, new generation of Guardians learns to protect and guide galactic civilization toward maturity necessary for next stage of existence. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, but, rather than feeling overwhelmed, he experienced a sense of rightness, as if everything in his life had been leading to this moment. His love of problem-solving, his ability to see patterns and connections that others missed, his instinctive preference for cooperation over competition, all of it suddenly made perfect sense. I accept, he said simply. Whatever this requires, whatever humanity needs to become, I'll help make it happen. The beast's response carried what could only be described as satisfaction and approval. Good. Trial complete. Human demonstrates required qualities in abundance. Return to surface now. Official evaluation will reflect standard assessment, but true education begins soon. As they returned to the arena proper through a different route that bypassed the hidden chambers, Marcus understood that he was now part of something vast and important, something that would shape the future of not just humanity, but potentially all intelligent life in the galaxy. Marcus emerged from the arena to find the assembled recruits and instructors staring at him with expressions ranging from confusion to awe. The official timer showed that his trial had lasted 47 minutes, nearly 5 times longer than any previous candidate. The battle beast followed him out, moving with what appeared to be a distinctly different demeanor than it had shown with earlier candidates. Commander Zefkar approached the arena floor, his reptilian features unreadable. "Candidate Chen, please report your experience for the record." Marcus glanced briefly at the beast, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. "Sir, the trial was unlike what I expected. The battle beast conducted a comprehensive evaluation that tested problem-solving abilities, adaptability under pressure, and capacity for non-violent conflict resolution. I believe I demonstrated adequate performance in these areas." The massive understatement drew surprised looks from several observers, but Zefkar simply nodded. "The beast's evaluation?" The creature stepped forward, its harmonic voice carrying clearly through the arena's acoustics. "Human candidate exceeds all standard parameters. Demonstrates exceptional aptitude for complex tactical thinking, interspecies cooperation, and adaptive problem-solving under novel circumstances. Recommend immediate advancement to specialized training protocols." A murmur rippled through the assembled recruits. No candidate had ever received such an endorsement from the beast. Several Altarians exchanged glances of what appeared to be respect mixed with incomprehension. The Gorvani warrior Thurek, who had received an acceptable rating earlier, looked at Marcus with new interest. "Specialized protocols?" Dr. Morse stepped forward from the observation area. "Commander, there are no specialized protocols outlined in current Academy curriculum for post-beast evaluation." Zefkar's yellow eyes narrowed slightly as he studied both Marcus and the beast. "Dr. Morse, it appears we may need to develop new protocols. The beast's evaluation suggests capabilities that extend beyond our standard training programs." Over the following weeks, Marcus's experience at the Academy became increasingly unique. While his fellow recruits followed established courses in tactical combat, starship operations, and standard military procedures, Marcus found himself called to additional sessions that weren't listed on any official schedule. These special training periods took place in sections of the Academy that most students never saw, deep underground facilities where the artificial gravity could be adjusted to simulate conditions from dozens of different worlds. His instructors were a rotating group of beings from species he didn't recognize, each possessing knowledge and abilities that seemed to transcend normal galactic civilization. "Your mind is adapting well to non-linear tactical thinking," observed Instructor Kethmar, whose crystalline form seemed to exist partially in normal space and partially elsewhere. "Most species require extensive conditioning to process multi-dimensional strategic scenarios. Humans appear to possess innate flexibility in this regard." Marcus was learning to operate equipment that responded to thought patterns rather than physical manipulation, to navigate spaces where geometry followed rules that his human brain had to stretch to comprehend, and to communicate with intelligences that existed in states of being far removed from biological life. This is preparation, he realized during one particularly challenging session that involved coordinating with entities that appeared to be living mathematics. "You're teaching me to interact with things that normal academy training could never prepare someone for." Kethmar's form shifted through several configurations before settling into something approximately humanoid. "Correct assessment. Standard military training prepares beings to fight threats they can understand, enemies that follow known patterns of behavior and technology. Your education addresses different category of challenges entirely." Meanwhile, Marcus maintained his regular academy schedule, participating in combat exercises with his fellow recruits and attending standard classes. To outside observers, he appeared to be a competent but unremarkable student, performing well but not exceptionally in conventional measures. Only a few perceptive individuals began to notice subtle differences. Liera Vextel, an Altarian with particularly keen observational abilities, approached Marcus after a tactical simulation exercise. "Your approach to the scenario was interesting," she said, her crystalline features reflecting rainbow patterns in the artificial sunlight. "You solved the hostage situation using methods I've never encountered in standard tactical doctrine." Marcus considered his response carefully. "Sometimes conventional approaches aren't sufficient. I've found it helpful to consider problems from angles that might not be immediately obvious." Indeed, Liera's tone suggested she understood there was more to his statement than surface meaning. "I have noticed that you seem to process spatial relationships differently than other candidates." As if you're seeing additional dimensions that the rest of us miss. The conversation was interrupted by an announcement calling all candidates to assembly for their next major evaluation. The Academy's curriculum included increasingly complex challenges as students progressed, but this particular trial was described only as a comprehensive assessment of advanced capabilities. The candidates were transported to a facility that seemed to exist at the edge of the Academy's main complex, a structure that appeared to have been grown rather than built, its organic curves and impossible angles suggesting architecture from beyond conventional understanding. Marcus recognized it immediately as similar to the mysterious structures he had seen through the windows of the beast's hidden command chamber. Commander Zethkar addressed the assembled group with unusual gravity. This evaluation will test your ability to function in environments and circumstances that may be encountered during advanced assignments for the Galactic Defense Force. Some of you may find the experience challenging to your fundamental understanding of reality. Those who cannot adapt will be transferred to standard military tracks with no loss of honor. The candidates were divided into small groups and sent into different sections of the strange facility. Marcus found himself grouped with Liera, Thurok the Gorvani warrior, and a quiet Nexri technician named Ziphar whose multiple arms were constantly making minute adjustments to various sensing devices. Their assigned section appeared to be a simple corridor with doors leading to various chambers, but, as they progressed, the geometry became increasingly non-standard. Doors opened onto rooms that were larger inside than the corridor that contained them could possibly accommodate. Gravity changed direction arbitrarily, requiring the team to develop new movement techniques. "This is impossible," Thurok rumbled, his massive form struggling to adapt to a chamber where down appeared to be in 3 different directions simultaneously. "My warrior training never covered battlefields that violate basic physics." Ziphar's sensors were providing increasingly confused readings. "Spatial measurements are inconsistent. Energy signatures suggest reality manipulation technology beyond anything in galactic databases." Liera, however, was adapting with surprising grace, her Altarian mental flexibility allowing her to process the impossible geometry more readily than her companions. "Marcus," she said, "you don't seem surprised by any of this. You're navigating these spaces as if you've encountered similar environments before." Marcus paused in his examination of what appeared to be a control panel that existed in 4 dimensions, its controls extending into spaces that their eyes couldn't quite follow. "I've had some additional preparation," he said carefully. "The key is to stop trying to force these environments to conform to normal expectations and start letting your mind adapt to their actual rules." He demonstrated by operating the control panel through a combination of physical manipulation and what appeared to be mental projection, causing the chamber around them to shift into a configuration that was actually navigable by beings with their physical limitations. "How did you do that?" Ziphar asked, his devices registering energy patterns that didn't correspond to any known technology. "I'm not entirely sure," Marcus admitted. "But I think these facilities respond to understanding rather than force. They're testing our ability to adapt our thinking to accommodate realities that exist outside our normal experience." As they progressed through the facility, Marcus found himself taking an increasingly leadership role, not through assertion or command, but because his growing understanding of the environment's logic allowed him to guide the others through challenges that would otherwise be insurmountable. When they encountered a chamber filled with what appeared to be floating geometric shapes that needed to be arranged in a specific pattern, Marcus was able to perceive the underlying mathematical relationships that governed their behavior. When they faced a puzzle that required cooperation between minds thinking in fundamentally different ways, he served as a translator and coordinator, helping his teammates combine their unique capabilities effectively. "You're not just adapting to these challenges," Liera observed as they completed what appeared to be their final test. "You're helping the rest of us adapt too. That's not a skill they teach in standard leadership courses." Marcus considered her words as they emerged from the facility to find that their group was among the first to complete the evaluation successfully. Other teams were still struggling with basic navigation, while some had requested extraction after becoming unable to cope with the reality-bending environment. Commander Zethkar was waiting with a group of instructors that Marcus now recognized as being from the same advanced species that had been providing his specialized training. The commander's expression was thoughtful as he reviewed reports from the various team leaders. "Candidate Chen," Zethkar said, "your performance in this evaluation was exemplary. More importantly, your ability to assist other candidates in adapting to unprecedented circumstances suggests leadership potential that extends well beyond conventional military applications. One of the advanced instructors stepped forward, her form shifting through several configurations before settling into something resembling a tall humanoid with features that seemed to be composed of condensed starlight. The evaluation confirms earlier assessments. Human cognitive flexibility combined with natural cooperative instincts creates optimal profile for intended role. Marcus felt the weight of attention from his fellow candidates, many of whom were beginning to understand that something significant was happening that extended beyond normal academy processes. "What role would that be, sir?" "Ambassador," the Starlight being replied. "Bridge between conventional galactic civilization and intelligences that exist beyond current understanding. Guide for species making transition to expanded awareness. Guardian of boundaries between realities that must remain separate and those that can safely interact." The implications were staggering, not just for Marcus but for humanity as a whole. If he succeeded in this path, he would be representing not just his own species but serving as a liaison between all conventional galactic civilization and forms of existence that most beings couldn't even comprehend. Thurek stepped forward, his massive form somehow managing to convey respect despite his warrior culture's usual emphasis on individual strength. "Human Marcus, your leadership in impossible place was worthy of great honor. If you are chosen for purpose beyond normal understanding, know that Gorvani will remember your name with respect." Similar acknowledgments came from the other candidates, and Marcus realized that his path through the academy was diverging not just from normal training, but from normal reality itself. He was being prepared for responsibilities that would require him to operate at the intersection of the known and unknown, the possible and impossible. As the candidates were dismissed to return to their quarters, Marcus lingered to speak with Commander Zethkar. "Sir, can you tell me how long the Academy has known about these expanded realities? How long has the standard training been a cover for something larger?" Zethkar's scaled features showed something that might have been amusement. "Longer than most species have possessed space travel, Candidate Chen. The Academy serves multiple functions, only one of which involves conventional military training. For most students, that conventional training is sufficient for the challenges they will face. For a few, like yourself, it is merely the foundation for education that extends far beyond anything most galactic citizens could imagine." "And humanity's role in all of this?" "Your species possesses a combination of adaptability, creativity, and cooperative instinct that appears to be remarkably suited for the challenges ahead." The beast identified these qualities early in humanity's contact with galactic civilization. "The decision to fast-track human integration was motivated by recognition that your people may be crucial for the next phase of galactic evolution." Marcus nodded, feeling the full weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He was no longer just representing himself or even his species, but potentially serving as a bridge between humanity and realities that could reshape the entire understanding of existence itself. The battle beast appeared at his side with its characteristic silent grace, and Marcus understood that this creature, this ancient guardian and teacher, would continue to be part of his journey as he learned to navigate the impossible responsibilities that awaited him beyond the academy walls. "Ready for next phase?" the beast asked, its harmonic voice carrying undertones of approval and anticipation. Marcus Chen, once an ordinary human from Earth, now stood at the threshold of becoming something unprecedented in galactic history. "Yes," he said, his voice carrying quiet confidence that had been forged in the crucible of impossible tests and unimaginable revelations. "I'm ready."